Oh. All right, yo, what's cracking, Kuma Corporation? Welcome back to another gym vlog. Today, we are testing a brand new camera. Got myself, well, honestly, Tina got it for me, but it's the Canon EOS R10. And yeah, we're just going to be kind of testing its capabilities as I walk through this gym vlog for today. I'm also using the Rode Wireless Go 2, so that is the microphone situation. I have the mic about like 3 inches, 4 inches away from my mouth. Mic is set to negative 30 decibels, and I think the audio capture on the camera is also set to the same, negative 30 decibels. So I'm going to see how good it is at isolating my voice with this camera setup compared to my old Panasonic G7. Also, the image quality, we're going to be seeing like if it looks better in my opinion or not. I am noticing that the camera seems to be, at least in the EVF, kind of struggling to capture my face and capture my eyes for the autofocus. So I know that Canon's has, like dual pixel autofocus. Their autofocus is quite good in the camera marketplace, but yeah, I'm going to leave it on autofocus just to test it, because I actually don't really know. I've never really used it, a Canon camera like this before, so we shall see. Either way, I'm hoping that the audio doesn't have that frequency issue that is present when I use the G7. But in any case, we're going to be benching today, and I've got 125. Yeah, 125 loaded up on the bar. Going to be doing like a 3x3 at 125 kilograms, and hopefully I don't die. Yeah, so I actually kind of injured myself again last week, and the beginning of this week too. I misgrooved pretty badly on Monday. It wasn't from the last video that just got uploaded. It wasn't that misgroove. It was a lot worse. I was using a squat bar, and unfortunately the squat bar was a little bit, well, the knurling was gone. Let's just say that. The knurling was gone. It wasn't sticking to my back, and it rolled down a little bit too far. I had about 474, I think, on the bar at the time. So that weight plus the bar rolling down plus misgrooving, I kind of got some hip pain I'm dealing with right now. So I'm not going to actually be able to drive. I'm not really going to be able to drive as hard with the legs on the bench today. So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, hopefully it's fine. So now I'm going to stick the mic into my shirt like I normally do. Just like that. And we're going to see like if the audio comes out okay. I really don't know. So I just don't really know what to expect. Also, in case you were wondering, I'm using the kit lens on the EOS R10. It's 18 to 45 millimeters. So I think the aperture goes from like 4.5 to 5.6. Okay. Yeah. Maybe that was a little bit too easy. Should probably bring the weight up a little bit. But I'll do one more set and then think about maybe raising it. Or maybe I'll just do like pause reps or something. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Just going to be dropping the ISO down a bit. Lighting is better in this direction, so should be fine. Yeah, this time, same weight. Just going to be doing some pauses. Maybe like 2-second pauses or something like that. Oh, yep. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, that's probably it's probably how I'm gonna want to train today. Doing those pauses like that. Yeah, it's not really hurting, which is a good sign. It's not really hurting, so pretty confident that I can climb up in weight today. Maybe do a top set 130 kilograms, 135 kilograms maybe, and then maybe do back offs like a 5x5 or something like that. The objective of today's video, besides testing out new camera setup and new camera and whatever, is to discuss some of my preferred accessories for the bench press. And yeah, we're gonna get into like 3 of them. If you guys are struggling with your bench, accelerating your bench growth, I'm gonna be discussing and performing 3 of my preferred bench press accessories. All right, here we go. Last set. This is gonna be a top set, 135. Just about 300 pounds. It's like 297. Yeah, hopefully it feels good. We'll see. Oh, on the ascent there, but overall not bad. I would say pain meter was like 4 out of 10. Difficulty meter, RP 6 or 7. So my bench strength is definitely coming back. That's without a doubt. So this is the first exercise that I like to think of as one of the better exercises you can utilize to blow up your bench. And in case it wasn't obvious, it's an overhead press. So when you think about bench press, you need to think about what muscles are involved, right? And so one of the major pressors, right, in the bench press is going to be the deltoid, right? So you need to tackle your compound, your bench press, for example, with the mindset of like, okay, what are my weakest links, right, in the kinetic chain for the bench press? And for a lot of people, it's the delts. A lot of people don't train the shoulders as hard as they need to, or as hard as they should, and so it can be the first weak link in that kinetic chain. So with the overhead press, I'll probably make a lifting tutorial, learn to lift with Professor Bub's video on it in the future, maybe even today. But I like to utilize a narrower grip than most people. So a lot of the time when I see people do the overhead press, their grip is pretty similar, if not the same as their bench grip. And this isn't really gonna help you all that much. Get stronger in the delt, right? So what tends to end up happening is that when people grip a little bit too wide, they start to lean back a little bit more. And so they start to incorporate more of the clavicular head, that portion of the pectoralis major, right? So actually you're gonna find that for developing that kind of like explosive strength, it's gonna be better to get a little bit narrower so you can kind of focus more on the front delt and actually also the tricep to be sort of the primary mover in the exercise. So I like to grip a little bit narrow, set up, get directly under it, unrack, walk it out, breathe in, brace, press straight up. I do also, recommend that as you press, you kind of push your head through so they can be directly over top of you. Just like so. Second accessory to sort of blow up your bench press is going to be, well, my second pick is going to be the barbell row. And a lot of people, well, back when I started, powerlifting and lifting in general, a lot of people never really utilized the barbell row. Nowadays you see it a lot, But yeah, a lot of people don't really utilize this correctly and effectively, right? So with the barbell row, I have made a video on this already. There's a Learn to Lift YouTube short on this video, on this exercise already. But what's great about this as an accessory is that it's actually good for not only developing a stronger bench, it's also good for developing a stronger deadlift too. So, you know, when you utilize the barbell row for, you know, powerlifting purposes, it's a little bit different than when you utilize it for, let's say, bodybuilding purposes, hypertrophy purposes, right? And so with that said, as you utilize this exercise, it's going to be good to sort of try to position yourself in a similar manner to a conventional deadlift. Now, you might not be a conventional deadlifter, and that's okay. This, it's still applicable to developing a stronger deadlift overall, even if you are a sumo deadlifter. So normally for barbell rows, I would recommend you sort of get into a bent over position here to the point where you can start to feel your hamstrings, you know, and then row to your stomach, right? Just like that. But for a powerlifting application, I actually recommend you stand a bit more upright and row it towards your stomach this way, getting your elbows back in this direction here, and row. So you want to kind of mimic sort of the halfway point, halfway position of a deadlift. Get your elbows back to engage the lats a little bit more. Now, some of you may be wondering, why would I be doing barbell rows if I'm trying to get a bench press? You know, and trying to increase my bench press, right? An easy way to put this is, imagine you have a table and the top of the table is very sturdy, you know? Maybe it's made out of metal, but the legs of the table are really wobbly. Maybe they're, you know, made out of paper for our intents and purposes, right? So if the legs of the table are unstable and weak, then it's not going to be able to support the top of the table. So in this analogy here, I'm referring to the back as something that's allowing stability and support to withstand, you know, those forces, gravitational forces of a bench press, right? So the stronger and more stable you get your back, the stronger you will get on the bench press, right? So a general rule of thumb I like to use is that you should be able to pen lay row. So if you don't know what a pen lay row is, you can look it up, or I can make a video on it. But you should be able to pen lay row your bench max. I'm very much in the camp of your back should be as strong as your chest. So yeah, that's a good metric to use. Quick recap, barbell row. For hypertrophy, you know, it's not a bad idea to get a little bit more bent over. But for a strength application, for a powerlifting application, try to sort of mimic your deadlift position, your conventional deadlift position. Make sure you're wrenching your elbows down, bending the bar, driving that force into your lats. The last exercise, number 3, for accessories to improve your bench press is going to be something that I almost never see at the gym, and it's going to be the floor press. If you don't know what the floor press is, basically it's bench press just without a bench. So you're on the floor, you still want to get your scapula retracted, depressed, and all that, but you're not going to want to go fast. And the reason is, if it's not obvious, is that your elbows are going to hit the ground, right? You're not going to be able to get all the way down to your chest. And so as you come down and your elbows touch the ground, you're going to be almost like pausing it, but not quite. And so if you come down quickly, if you come down too fast and the weight's kind of heavy, then you're running a risk of injury, right? Pretty severe injury, and you don't want to do that. Trust me. Personal experience when I was younger. With the floor press, the reason why it's so good with improving your bench strength is that you are basically holding at the bottom range of the motion of the floor press and turning it into a pin press, right? So a pin press from a dead stop, right? So it increases your explosive strength, and
Also, it helps you develop that strength from that sticking point to lockout, which a lot of people have that problem. So you'll notice that people tend to fail when they're benching, tend to fail right about here, right? So that midway point to lockout. So this is gonna help develop that strength from that midway point, the sticking point to lockout, and also just, develop overall explosive strength. So with the floor press, basically get a rack, set it down to an appropriate height. It's comfortable for you. Lay down onto the floor, make sure scapula retracted, depressed, all that. You can use the same bench grip. Your feet can be, straight out, or you can put them on the floor here. If you put them on the floor here, you're going to be able to utilize a lot more leg drive. If your legs are out this way, it's going to turn more into a Larson press. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, do what's comfortable for you. But yep, we're going to unrack, bring it over our chest just like we would for a bench. Come down, nice and controlled. Dead stop here. Press straight through. And again, dead stop. Press up. Dead stop. Press up. Rinse and repeat. Nice and easy. So you want to make sure that you control your reps. You want to make sure everything's nice and controlled to avoid injury, because again, you're in a very compromised position, and so you want to make sure that if this is your first time doing this, start with just the bar. I warmed up to the 55-pound bumper plate, so don't worry about that. But maybe have like a gym buddy to spot you just in case. Worst case scenario, you're coming down too fast, injure yourself in the tricep, and the bar falls on your face. Obviously, with bumper plates on or a plate on, it's not going to hit you in the face. But still, if you have no weights on and it's just a bar, you definitely hit yourself. That's going to be the third exercise for blowing up your bench press. I have a lot more if you guys want me to cover them, but if you utilize these three, the overhead press, barbell row, specifically with the strength application technique that I talked about earlier, and the floor press, you should notice significant increases in your bench press strength. So yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna go bodybuild now because I'm not even supposed to powerlift today. So yeah, I'm gonna go bodybuild. Okay, so yesterday's bodybuilding session at the end of the workout went about as well as you'd expect. And I actually didn't do too much. Pretty much just went with some incline bench on the machine, and then moved into a superset of tricep pushdowns into lateral raises. And honestly, there's not much to say about it. I actually wanted to do a lot more, but I was unable to because I was taking too much time scrolling through my phone, checking work messages, stuff like that, to see if, I have a class to teach next semester. So I probably haven't talked about this yet, but if not enough students sign up for my class next semester, then it's going to be dropped, and I'm just, kind of worried that I'm not going to have a source of income. So yeah, I was just kind of stressing out about that last night. But today is a new day, and I decided to just pretty much just bodybuild, and I went for a new kind of training session. I've never really done anterior posterior, but I decided to just work the posterior chain, posterior kinetic chain. So I started off with some back stuff, warmed up with the seal row. Seal row went pretty well. It was definitely hurting a lot though in my shoulder, and I think that's just my fault basically. I haven't really been doing my therapy exercises and stuff, so it was definitely a little tender. So I went and gripped a little bit wider. That felt fine. Moved into a high pull, and the high pull went pretty well. I actually like to do this sideways rather than pull from the front. I like to pull from the side. It helps me engage my lats a bit more, and it gets a little bit
easier to utilize the bicep. So I use this primarily as a lat bicep kind of builder. As you know, my biceps are my biceps are my weak point, let's just say. After that, decided to move into some cable rows, and the machine I actually wanted to use was taken, so I used this dual pulley cable row, seated row, and actually it didn't really feel good. I didn't really feel like my back activating. It didn't really feel my upper back working, so I decided to just scrap that. I did 2 sets. First set didn't feel good. Second set still didn't feel good, so I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna scrap this and move on into some lat pull downs. Lat pull downs with the pro style grip felt pretty good. Got some good activation in the lats overall. And so like I mentioned earlier, the posterior chain, worked some hamstrings and glutes today as well, but the hamstring curls felt fine. You know, they're seated curls, not much to say about them. Had some good activation today. Felt my hamstrings actually working pretty hard. And so I went over to the power squat, and with the power squat, I like to use it as a good morning. I actually don't like doing good mornings with the barbell. I feel like it just, you know, is a bit uncomfortable, and it feels a lot more comfortable with the power squat because the pads, they're kind of long, so they run up and down, right? So parallel to the spine, and I feel a little bit more secure and just a little bit more comfortable using the power squat for good mornings. I did not go heavy, basically just went for 1 plate only, and that's because, like I said, you know, my lower back is still a little bit tender. It kind of hurts still, so I decided to give myself a break and just focus on, you know, using pause reps. So the last thing I did of the day, which I didn't film, was some hip abduction. So worked the glutes, and that felt fine. I probably could have gone a little bit more ham, but I was getting a little bit lazy towards the end of my workout, so I decided to, you know, just kind of work some pause reps, very high volume sets, like 30 reps plus. And it's really more of a therapy tool than anything else, than a hypertrophy tool, because I do know that one of my weak points is also my glutes, and I definitely have a lot of pain from my hips, my glutes, sciatica, whatever. So checked my physique today, and I weighed myself for the first time in like over a month probably, and I'm 236, so I'm pretty much the same exact weight as I was 2 months ago or a month ago. And yeah, I know that this is supposed to be like the third cut, but kind of unfortunate that moving back home has really put a damper on my overall dieting. And I can blame whatever, right, external factors, but at the end of the day, if I were a little bit more motivated, if I were a little bit more strict with myself, I could definitely have cut a lot more weight. But overall, I'm not too worried about it. Honestly, my physique is looking fine, decent, as you guys can see. So it's not like I'm preparing for a bodybuilding show or even thinking about going into bodybuilding in the first place. So it really doesn't matter all that much. The big reason why I wanted to weight cut, like I mentioned videos and videos and videos ago, was to get back into the original weight class I was in, and you know, maybe consider competing powerlifting again. But honestly, I don't think that's on the table anymore at this point. So yeah, now it's just kind of just gym vlogging and just talking with you all and sharing my fitness stuff, and, you know, answering questions that you all may have. So I'm gonna go ahead and get on the treadmill now. It's time for cardio. I definitely want to continue with cardio. I want to continue with trying to lose some weight in general, because for me and my family, genetically, we all have the same problem of storing most of our fat as visceral fat instead of subcutaneous. So my physique, as you guys can probably see, is a bit like barely, right? So it doesn't really look, so it's kind of weird because I don't have a lot of flub, like actual, you know, like flub, right? But I have a lot of fat. My body fat percentage is really high, and that's mainly because I have a lot of visceral fat. That's where my body just tends to store it. That's one reason, I want to continue, cardio, weight cutting in general, is to drop that visceral fat level. So, yeah, I'm going to go and do some cardio. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.